everyone, how are we all doing today? Are we good? Are we happy? Are we healthy? Are we feeling fabulous? As a little side note, just quickly, I have just drunk a massive cup of coffee with 4 spoonfuls of coffee in it. We'll see how this video goes, okay? And also, quick side note, my dog is actually just lying here. I normally shut her out of my room when I'm filming, but she's adamant. She likes spending time with me. So I apologise if you hear any weird noises. It's her, okay? Welcome to today's video. It is Let's Build Edinburgh Part 2. If you haven't seen Part 1, I would go watch that first, unless you're one of those people that like to read the end of the book before the beginning. In that case, cool. Okay, jumping into the video then, if you did watch last week's, you'll remember that we built those shop fronts and kind of like double tier row of buildings, I guess, that was inspired by Victoria Street, and that was a lot of fun to do. It was time consuming because of the detail, but architecturally it wasn't that it wasn't too difficult because it was just kind of a straight row. But this time we've got a bit more like higgledy-piggledy stuff going on, which was quite fun to play with. We're actually working on this building, which is in the back right-hand side of the row we worked on to begin with. And in here is going to be the Edinburgh Dungeons and a rental house / flat. I don't know what you want to call it, but it's accommodation that you can, play, live in or whatever. And it's quite a big accommodation. So that was fun. And the Edinburgh Dungeons, if you don't know, they're a chain of tourist attraction, the Dungeons. And I don't think that you get the Dungeons in other countries. I mean, you'll probably have your own version of the Dungeons, but I don't think that chain is in other countries. But basically the Edinburgh Dungeons, or the Dungeons in general, gosh, drinking game, how many times am I going to say dungeons? Basically they're found in a bunch of cities around the UK with strong history, and they are like a dark history tourist attraction, I guess you would call them. They focus on the history that's found like in the city that they're located. So the Edinburgh Dungeons is focused on the history in Edinburgh, and I think it mainly focuses around the 17th century, but I could be wrong, don't quote me on that. I'm not entirely sure. I probably should have done my research before doing this video, but it'll be like last video where you see me struggling my way through the information. But yes, so the dungeons, basically the Edinburgh Dungeons, also I'm sorry if you can hear that, we're in the middle of having a storm right now and the wind is like mental right now, so I'm sorry. Anyway, the dungeons are basically, they're mostly underground, I would say. I think they're underground. Yeah, and they simulate like different points in history and different rooms or like outdoor spaces or whatever, and you get walked through them, so you have live actors in each space, and sometimes you're just told to go on to like the next space, like, in like the story, like, oh, they're coming to get you, run before they get you. I mean, obviously more dramatic than that, but you get what I mean. And you have to run through the hallway and you get to the next room and there'll be another actor there waiting to greet you, and yeah, so that's basically what it is. And the different kind of rooms that you have, I mean, I think generally they all start with the courtroom, I think. So you go into the courthouse and you have the judge, and he calls some of you up. Like, it's a very interactive experience, and he calls you up one at a time, and like he says, oh, you're being accused of this, what do you have to say for yourself, and so on. And he'll go through like a few people, and then that's done and you move on to the next room. And I'm pretty sure it's like a witch's room in Edinburgh. I mean, obviously each dungeons will be slightly different depending on the history, but I think they cover the same generalised things. Like, they have a courtroom and they probably all have a witches thing because there was witches everywhere in the UK, or supposedly, depending on what you believe. But yeah, then you move on to the witches room, and then there's a torturer room, and then you actually get, for the Edinburgh one, there's actually a boat ride that, it was really funny when I went. I think I went for the first time when I was like 12, and then I went again more recently. It was my 21st birthday, and I spoke kind of about this in the last episode about my 21st, and it was me and my friend, and we were on the boat, and we were at the front, and we were terrified about being at the front because, like, obviously you're going to get whatever's coming at you at the front. And you go through this cave kind of system, and there's like vines and stuff hanging down, so obviously you're freaking out because it's pitch black and you feel this stuff like touching you, and like, yeah, obviously the live actors can't touch you, you know, they're not allowed, but you don't think about that at the time. But yeah, we were going through the cave and we got to this dock and the boat stopped and we were all like, what do we do? Do we get out? And then we heard this noise at the back of the boat, and there was this lady like climbing over the boat, and we all freaked out. We're like, when did she get on here? But it must have been at some point during the dark cave she just clambered on silently. But yeah, she was one of the cannibals, because in the Edinburgh dungeons they have a bit focused on Sonny Bean, who's, I would say he's a very famous cannibal, but that's after me doing my research and realising that he is. I mean, I looked him up after my first time going to the dungeons, which I think, like I say, was when I was about 12, although I'm not entirely sure. But before that I didn't know. Although, thinking about it, I was 12, so I probably shouldn't really know about the cannibals. But anyway, I think he's reasonably well known. You might not know about him. Basically, this was in the 17th century, I'm pretty sure. And Sonny Bean, his name was Alexander Sonny Bean. I think Sonny was his nickname. And he was kind of the head of, I'm pretty sure it was like 40 odd people in this clan, and they were all cannibals, and they had murdered and cannibalized over 1,000 people in a 25-ish year period, I'm pretty sure. And then they were eventually caught. Like, he lived with his family and a bunch of kids in like a cave system with loads of different tunnels and stuff like that, and it got flooded a lot and things, but like they just hid out there. But they eventually got caught and all executed, so I guess that's a good thing. But yeah, so you work your way through that, and it was really funny because when we went, the, like, I don't know if it's the wife of him, I think it was, I guess her role is to always like pick someone in the crowd where she's like, oh, I like you, why don't you stay with us? And she picked me, and like, it was just funny. Like, I'm trained as an actor, if you don't know. Acting's what I do, or used to do anyway, not so much anymore. But so I really like that interactive thing. I like playing up to it and stuff, and it was really fun. And it's actually really funny because I went with my mum one time. I've been to the dungeons like a million times because I love horror. Just putting it out there. I went with my mum one time, and in each room they have like at least one interactive thing where they get like an audience member up and do something with them. And in about 5 of the rooms, I think there's like maybe 8 rooms or something, in 5 of them I got picked over and over, and everyone in my group must have been like, excuse me, can I get some attention? But yes, I find that quite funny. But I enjoy it, you know, it's fun, it gets you out of your comfort zone too. Like, I'm very shy normally, but like, you just play along, you play a character, and it's good, it's a fun time. But yeah, so this cannibal was like, oh, I like you, why don't you stay with us? So I was just playing along with it, and it's funny because I went one time with my ex-boyfriend, and that same situation happened to him, and I just thought it was funny that it happened to me the time before and happened to him that time. Like, I just thought it was amusing. Anyway, so yeah, that happens, and then you run away, and then I'm pretty sure it definitely covers the Burke and Hare story. I spoke about Burke and Hare in the last episode a little bit, so I'm not really going to speak about them too much. No one has been the Body Snatchers. If you don't know, look them up. It's pretty fascinating, to be honest. I mean, like, fascinating if you like dark stuff, obviously. Yeah, and then you also go to Mary King's Close, which was it was like ripe for the plague back then, and you meet the Foul Clanger, also known as the Plague Cleaner, I guess. I think that's what he was known as. Yeah, so you go through like the little alleyway, and like it smells weird, and like a bucket of pee gets thrown on you, and it's a fun time. Yeah, and then at the very end, there's actually a ride. You get the option of going on it or not, but it's like one of those ones that you get pulled up and then you like drop down them, and it's to symbolize like being hung, basically, is what they set it up as. They're saying, oh, you've been accused of this, you've been found guilty of this, or treason, or whatever it is, and then you get hung. I know it's a little bit morbid, but I guess like that's what you expect. We're going into this like dark history of Edinburgh, like, but I think you have that in every single one of the dungeons, so that's a fun time. Yeah, you will have seen I was building just loads of random rooms that I was just kind of imagining you go through, and like here's like an outdoor area, and like I've kind of made like little exteriors of houses and stuff. I actually made this basement level a high ceiling height. I didn't know you could change the ceiling height in basements actually, so that was interesting. I found that interesting. But yeah, here I'm just playing with the fronts of houses and stuff to make it look like a real street, and then we'll also be doing like a pub kind of thing in there, because pretty sure it's in the London Dungeons, there's a pub you go into. And the London Dungeons, right? I've been to the London Dungeons a lot too. I remember going with the Scouts, and I must have been, maybe that was the first dungeons I went to actually, when I was about 12, because I was about 12 when I went. Maybe, I don't know. There was the, because Sweeney Todd was part of London's history, so they had the Sweeney Todd section. The Demon Barber, if you don't know, I presume everyone knows who Sweeney Todd is. Johnny Depp played him in a film, if that helps. Yeah, so there's the Sweeney Todd room, and you get led into this room with all the seats by his assistant. I can't remember what her name is. The lady who owns the pie shop downstairs. Helen Bonham Carter. Who? What is her character's name? I can't remember. Mrs. something. I'll probably put it up on the screen because I'll Google it after this video. Anyway, you get led into the room by her, and then she says about, oh, Mr. Todd's not in a good mood today, he's gonna come and tell you off, sort of thing. And you all get like sat on these seats, and there's the aisle in the middle, and then the lights go out, and you just hear creaking every now and again, and then the snipping of scissors. And I'm pretty sure it's like speakers behind you somewhere that makes you feel like he's like whispering in your ear or something, but like I swear I just felt like a little draft, and I was in the aisle seat, by the way, and I remember sitting facing the aisle, and I was literally just like this the whole time. Like, I don't know if you get this, whenever I was scared of the dark, I would just stare straight out into the dark and like hope that my face alone would scare whatever it is away. So I would just be staring like, don't come near me, don't you dare. And I was terrified. I was really terrified. And the boat ride wasn't working that time when I went. I was so sad. I was very excited for the boat ride. So I don't know what the boat ride's like in London, because definitely twice I've been, it's not been working, which is like rude. And then the dungeons always end with a mirror maze. That's just what they always end. I don't know what the reason is for that, but that's how they end. So you go running through this mirror maze until they finally let you out. So there you go, that's what the dungeons are. If you've never been to one, when you go to the UK, definitely go. They're a bit of fun, they're good. And then here anyway is the kind of house flat thing I was talking about. I decided to make it super fancy. The ones on the Victoria Street kind of place were quite run down, but this one I thought, nah, we're gonna go for posh people here. Like, I imagine people that rent this place, it would be like a couple thousand a day. Like, people that come stay here are minted. So that's the kind of style I was going with here, just making it a bit more glamorous. And I really like playing around with all these dark colours. I don't tend to do builds like this. So it was fun to play around with the posh, dark, glamorous atmosphere, I guess. Yeah, so I actually do come back and add beams into this bit, because I do this quite a lot actually, where I just add these beams randomly in the room, because I think it helps add like this more characterful architecture, and also I suppose those big rooms need support, you know, so the beams are there, but they also just look a bit funky. So yeah, I go back and add that stuff. But here I'm just popping all the necessities really, nothing that interesting I guess. I have to keep moving the mirrors to be able to put the blinds in that, which is really a bit annoying. I really wish that they wouldn't snap to the windows so much, because they snap in weird places. Like, they don't always snap on the top of the, like the very top bit of the window, they snap like, I don't know, not in a good place. But yeah, so I just put that little island counter because I thought it looked quite grand and quite funky. And here I'm making a little TV unit for the living room. I'm trying to play with this sort of more grand furnishing style. Like, the place is quite empty because it's a rental, like nobody lives here, but they're also trying to represent like the grand side of Edinburgh, I guess. So here I am just trying to play up to that, I guess. And I really think that this house is such a good size. I actually really like the location too, because it's tucked away just around the side of like the main street, and it's right next to the dungeons. Like, who wouldn't want to live next to the Edinburgh dungeons? Like, in reality, the Edinburgh dungeons are not in a location like this. They're actually, I don't know what any of the street names are called. They're on a very busy street though, just at the start of the old town. Like, you've gone off Princes Street, between Princes Street and the Royal Mile. They're like halfway along there on a pretty boring street, I guess. It's not like a fancy old cobblestone street. It's like a standard street, and so this is location wise not accurate at all. I mean, none of it's accurate, I already said that, so shut up. Anyway, I think this is 3 bedrooms. We've got like this one, which is just kind of like a standard double bedroom, and then we've got like the fancy master, and then we've got a twin room for kids, and I did put some kids' toys and stuff in there as well. But like I said, I didn't want to make it too personal because it's a rental. So yeah, and then up here I really didn't know what to put in this space, so I just kind of put like an activity area. You see there, I put that games table and stuff, and a sofa, and just a little place to hang out, I suppose, if the weather's not nice or something. I don't know. And you also have that nice balcony, which would be really cool. That's probably what put the price up a lot for this rental, because it's a really big place and you got a balcony in Edinburgh. You know you're living the life. I had a lot of fun playing with these vines, actually. I put them on most of the builds, and to be totally honest, I don't think there's that many vines in Edinburgh. But it's really hard to like make the translation from what's like in real life into The Sims, make that look good. So I just found they helped with having this historical feel about it. And I found the most difficult thing actually about this build was trying to get the floor tiles or the floor coverings and the wall coverings right. That I spent so long, I had to cut so much of that out on all of these builds. That was really difficult, because I did a lot of research and looking at the buildings in Edinburgh and stuff to get a kind of feel for what the deal was, basically. And I just couldn't get any to match. Like, not well, and then also in reality they're all made from different materials and it looks natural, it looks cool, but then in The Sims it just looks messy. So yeah, they all have different materials on them, but I struggled a lot to make that look good. And then here, I don't know, I felt like putting a shelf thing, so I put a shelf thing. I don't know. This is the master bedroom anyway. It's a very big room. It's a big room. But then I think all the rooms in this accommodation are pretty big. But that is basically this accommodation done, and then we move on to the hotel, which I really like the way the hotel turned out. I did cut out a few bits between this and the hotel, which is like the little pathways and stuff, because I found it really difficult to, like, trying to do these speed builds, I try and keep the camera still for at least a little bit of time so that when it's sped up it's not too jarring to watch. But doing the alleyways to get like a good view of everything, I was having to move it so much, so it was just too messy to keep in, so I cut out. And also, these videos are very long, so I'm trying to cut out all the stuff that's like not as interesting, I guess, or not as important to see. Like, you'll see the alleyways and screenshots at the end, but I cut them out. Is basically what I'm trying to say. So you'll see right now, just on the left there, that alleyway's not got anything done to it except the path. But then at some point during this footage, you'll see it suddenly has stuff, and that's because I just did it off camera. So yeah, here I am trying to figure out windows and doors and that, and then this bit just at the bottom of the stairs where the door is, I make that into kind of like a little beer garden kind of sense. I play around with some half walls and stuff, and I really like the way that turned out. I think it's really cute. I mean, not so much in Scotland, definitely in England, beer gardens are a massive thing. I mean, the weather's not always great here in Scotland, so having a beer garden's not like such a given thing, I guess. But in Edinburgh, they still have lots of outdoor spaces to hang out and stuff, because there's a lot of pets in that as well. Like, there's a lot of places in Edinburgh that are dog friendly, which is really nice, because I think that's becoming more of a thing these days. But I mean, when we go out with our dogs, like, it's always so difficult to find somewhere to eat, or like we have to just go get a takeaway and take it to the car and sit there with them. But yeah, I thought this was a nice place that if you do have a dog, you can sit out there fine. You'd also have a pretty good view, I would imagine, if, you know, this lot was bigger than it is and there was a land, like, cityscape, then you would have a pretty good view of all the different buildings. But here we are working on it right now, and I'm just using these, like, ruin wall things from Get Together, and I just sized them up and I'm just placing them higher and higher and creating some sort of confined space, I guess, to look like it was maybe a building before and it's been transformed into this like nice beer garden. And I like doing this. This is what I actually did for the ruins in, if you haven't seen it, I did a Sims 4 horror movie, kind of sorts, based on my own personal experiences in a house I used to live in. And there was like an old stable ruin at the back, and I used them for that, and it's very effective to use them like that. Like, I had never used them before, and when I saw them when I first got Get Together, I was like, well, what am I going to use these for? Like, I'm not just building a castle ruin, but actually you can use them for loads of stuff. And I think it has a really nice feel to it, having them here. It comes together really well. I think it's a weird entrance for the hotel, like, to be totally honest, but also, like, it's all just a bit all over the place in this build. So that's where I could fit it in best, because I think as well in reality you could have the door in there's a lot more options of where you could have the door, but here in The Sims with the terrain forming and the levels that I have, there wasn't that many options of where I could put it. So you have to go through the beer garden to get to it, which is not the worst thing, it's not at all, but it just looks a bit strange. But hey ho, here we are working on the inside. This is the reception area. And like I say, I just pop those beams, and I do that in quite a lot of the places. And yeah, I'm just popping some bookcases and stuff like that, making it look officey and welcoming, and we put a little seating area there. I pop another little seating area just to the right, and I kept forgetting to pop fireplaces in. I'm so bad with not putting fireplaces in builds, like especially traditional properties. Like, traditional properties always have fireplaces. I don't know why I keep forgetting about them, but yeah, I had to cut that out because I was doing it all and then I realised I forgot the fireplace, so it was a bit of a mess, the footage, to be fair. So there it was, you saw it. I tried to include a bit with tartan, because obviously it's Edinburgh's super touristy, Edinburgh's in Scotland, we're going to represent, we're going to have our tartan, but that was the only option I had. Which is a bit disappointing. I wanted a dark fireplace with tartan, but hey ho. And then I cut out doing the bathrooms because I always feel like I don't really care about seeing bathrooms in speed builds. I mean, maybe you do, and I'm sorry if that's the case, you can kind of see them. But here, these two rooms, I decided to do them, I was kind of imagining they were maybe staff rooms or like more hostel styled rooms. So they're not like super fancy or anything like that. And they share that bathroom in the middle. And then we do like grander bathrooms upstairs, so you'll get that sort of side of it. But those ones I just thought could be little ones tucked away, like cheap rooms to rent, or you know, that sort of atmosphere. And then up here is the restaurant, and I love the way this turned out. It's so cozy and intimate, but it's also still grand, and yeah, it's really nice. It's quite a romantic place, and I like the way I did these walls. I didn't want it to be a big open space, but I didn't want it to be too closed in, so I played around with just having these little walls here and then like using the beams either side to kind of confine them. And then we have a little balcony outside too that I put some tables out onto as well, but we only have 2-seater tables out there because it couldn't really fit anymore. So there's no families allowed on the balcony, just the romantic diners. But yeah, I really like the way the restaurant turned out because it's quite dark, but that gives it such a cozy feel. I do wish I put a fireplace though. Well, actually no, I don't think. No, I think it's nice without a fireplace. I think now I'm expecting myself to put fireplaces in every room, but they don't need it. And then here is the lounge room. So I did this because, I mean, I don't know if this is just Edinburgh. It's not Edinburgh, it's just anywhere, but they often have a lounge area where you can go sit, especially fancier hotels. Like this is quite a fancy one, in case you couldn't tell. So this is where their customers can go sit and lounge. Like maybe if you're obviously a resident of the hotel, you can come and lounge here in the evenings, but then maybe if you just come for dinner, then you could also come lounge here, or maybe you just come for a bit of a booze up. who knows? So there's that. I put a fireplace in this one, and I like the way a lot of fancy hotels have fireplaces and they just have 2 seats facing them, and it's just such a formal setup. Like, it doesn't really cater to very many of, you know, their patrons or whatever, but it's just like, it's a like almost a sign to say we're a fancy place. So I made sure to do that too. And then you have a couple other little seating areas around. And then we jump upstairs to the bedrooms in just a second. Well, to the hallway upstairs, which I didn't focus on too much. I don't really know, I mean, in reality, what really goes in a hallway in a hotel? I don't know, not much, but I just tried to fill the space. Like, trying to get a floor plan for this was quite difficult, I found. Just trying to make use of the space, but also keeping it feeling grand and not too closed in, but also like, I don't know, I struggled with the floor plan because it was a bit of an interesting shape to fit all the spaces in. But upstairs we have this room, which is like the grandest. This is kind of like the honeymoon suite, I guess. And they all have en-suites except 2 of them which share a bathroom. So we have this one, which is the grand honeymoon suite, and then we have a family one, so it's got a double bed and a single bed in it, and then we have just a smaller double bed one, and then we have a single, and they're all like fancier. So you have lots of options if you want to stay here. Yeah, and then like I say, I did a lot more to the outside. I actually did the other building that's just behind the hotel. I, off camera, did the shell just for in screenshots so it doesn't look so like an eyesore, just this grey block. And so I did the exterior of that, so you'll see that in the screenshots. I haven't done anything to the interior yet. I was hoping to get that done so that in the next video we could just focus on the upper part of the build, but I didn't, so I might do that off camera. And if I do, I'll talk to you guys about that in the next video. Otherwise, maybe we'll see it in the next video. I'll have to see how it goes, because I want to get this finished so that it ends just in time for the Snowy Escape release, which I am so excited for. This is the first pack that's in such a long time that's made me actually want to play the game. Like, I'm more of a builder, not a player, but I'm super excited to try out the gameplay. So yeah, expect lots of Snowy Escape inspired builds coming on release, I guess, because this will finish up just in time. But this is almost done. I really hope that you enjoyed this build. I hope you're excited to see part 2. Thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate it. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed and you want to see more of my content. Here are the screenshots. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for watching, and I will speak to you very, very soon. Bye bye!